Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am very pleased that we are now at the 10th episode of Business Class Podcast by Oman Observer. We're very fortunate because we have talked to really interesting guests. From talking to Fatma Bahwan about co-working spaces to talking about crowdfunding, for example, which is also important for entrepreneurship. And we're talking to resilience with Nasr Al-Adawi, talking to about governance with Ahmed Al-Mukhaini. And I feel very fortunate because today's guest is really special. More than 5 years ago, we've met, and he was the first semester
Yeah.
aspiring, bright, inquisitive, polite student. To today, literally, the student is becoming the professor. Dr. Abdullah Al Lawati, we are very pleased to have you at the podcast today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and thank you for the invitation. And it's honestly amazing to reconnect after all of those years.
Yeah,
And yeah,
Abdul, it's amazing to reconnect indeed. You have been quite a force in the classroom. You showed leadership skills, but life has taken you into a really interesting journey from before we've met in class until now. Graduating last month from Sultan Qaboos University Medical School. It would be great that our audience they get to know you more. Could you please let us know how was your upbringing and how it led you to a medical career?
yes, and of course, but before that, the class we were in, it was a pleasure. And it was, as you said, the first semester in my whole university journey. And I feel it empowered me to go beyond what we are taught. Always have that curiosity in mind and try to make a difference. And so I'm thankful to the teachings that you have given us. And it's not just me, my colleagues too. You see them.
Thank you for everything
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah. So my name is Doctor. I've been a doctor for 2 weeks now. Dr.
Mabruk.
Abdullah, Allah Yabarak Feek. My name is Dr. Abdullah Al Lawati. Yeah, I joined Sultan Qaboos University College of Medicine in 2019. And as I said, 2 weeks ago, I found out that I'm going to be a doctor. Honestly, my background is I grew up in a family that's always, looking to the next step. They're
Yes.
very like academic background. My
With a
father,
focus on science. Right?
exactly, yes. My father is a professor at
Dr. Abdul Majid.
yes, Dr. Muhammad Abdul Majid. He's a professor at the College of Science at SQU. And my mother, she's a doctor at the Ministry of Health. And so ever since I was a child, I'd always see my parents, go do their research on animal experiments. In my mom's
Yeah.
case, publish papers, present at conferences, and win awards. And I think young Abdullah always saw his role models because a person always sees his role models
Yes.
and aspires to become like them. So fortunately today I am like them. I am
Yes.
publishing with them. I am winning conferences beside them.
Amazing. You
Yeah.
actually co-wrote papers with your parents?
Yes, actually, we have 2 publications that my mother and I have co-wrote. One was about, the recent trend with the injectable medications for weight loss.
Yes.
Wegovy, Saxenda, Ozempic. So we summarized all those medications into one review paper.
Yes.
And we recently published it in a top journal.
That's amazing. That's really, really very inspiring.
Yes.
And also, could you please let us know, other than your parents and your upbringing in
Yeah.
in a house that really cherishes knowledge and science, you yourself as a kid, growing up in Oman and also abroad, how did you grow up? Out of the house as well.
Yes, so being in an environment that always encourages you to go beyond,
Yes.
to explore the world and so on. I was fortunate to actually do my high school in Canada and
Yes.
also the last 2 years in Japan. So my education, my junior high school was in Canada, and it was amazing. I was actually accompanying my mother who was
Yes.
completing her PhD.
Wasn't it a bit too cold for you?
Oh yeah. I've seen the -40s.
Yes.
And you always hear stories,
Yeah.
but I've actually lived the -40s. And at that point, you cannot leave
Yes.
the house. It's just stay in the house, wear your jacket, put the heater on maximum, and that's it.
Was there a point in growing up in Canada or in Japan where you felt that this was too tough and you wanted to go back home?
Yes, and I cannot deny that. And I feel that feeling could be reciprocated with many of the Omanis who are traveling abroad, you know, trying to make a name for themselves, trying to explore. But like being abroad, it builds character. And I think tough battles build tough people.
Yes.
And that's what I always kept it in mind. And we know the quote, no pain, no gain.
Yes.
And so that's literally one of the quotes that kept me going.
Is there any tough story in particular that you think abroad it built your character as a young Abdullah?
Yes, you always feel like from one of my first interactions in high school in Japan. Now we're moving to the more recent years. In 2018 and 2019, I studied in a boarding high school in Japan. And you know, like, especially in the first few weeks, although I was there in the grade and so on, I felt behind.
Yes.
Not necessarily because I was behind in my studies or knowledge. It's just going to different systems, seeing the work ethic that they
Yes.
have. You know, the Japanese, they're known for their crazy work ethic.
Yes.
The waking up at 6 a.m., the sleeping at 10 p.m. sharp. And their work is their life, or their
Yes.
life is their work too. It works both ways, to be honest.
Yes.
And us, of course, we are hardworking and so on, but seeing something else, how
Yes.
life is lived by others.
It gave you a different perspective.
Exactly.
Yes.
Gave you a different perspective and made me question, am I doing the right thing? Or is this the right thing? Because we know Japan is advanced, the technologies and so on.
Yes.
And really, they are like very, very to the schedule, to the point, very functional people and like population. But you know, diversity brings strength.
Yes.
And just like how I learned and applied some of their like lifestyle changes and so on, how they do things in life, they also learned a few things from me. I remember once I was calling my parents in my room and one of my roommates came in. We'd have a shared room.
Yes.
And he was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Calling my parents." And they're like, "Oh, we don't do that."
Okay.
Like they're in the same country as their parents, but like it's just texting and so on.
Yes.
And I think they built or they learned the idea of connection
Yes.
and the strength of being connected with your
Yes.
family, because family is a strength.
Yes.
And so the support and the system, that's what makes a person achieve
Yes.
and keep achieving.
Yes. Having that support group
Exactly.
around you.
Exactly. Having that safe support group. And also, I always say with my achievements and everything is celebrate the small
Wins,
success,
yeah.
the small wins, exactly. Celebrate the small wins. And who better to celebrate with than your own family, right?
Exactly.
Because your win is their win. And so those things from my life, I feel like I influenced that a bit. They learned how to celebrate with us. We were the family there, of course.
Yes.
We were students together, and so on.
Yes. And did you keep in touch with any of your friends from school?
Yes, actually, we're in touch, and that's the power of social media.
Yes.
They just see a story of mine. Like, for example, the other day I put a graduation story, and they're like, "Oh, congratulations!"
Amazing.
And from there, we started having video calls and so on. So yeah.
And how did your life abroad? How did you transition into choosing a major in the university?
Yes, I saw all the technological advancements in Japan, and honestly, as a young high school student who was graduating, I did not know what I want to do.
Yes.
Because you go to Japan and you see advancements in healthcare,
Yes.
advancements in even engineering, architecture. You see like something as if you're watching a movie in
Yes.
front of you, a movie unfold, and you don't know, everything seems amazing. But somehow I was lucky and fortunate enough to enter the field of medicine.
Yes.
I always, in the back of my mind, I felt that I wanted to help people
Yes.
and to give back. And every field helps and gives people in different ways.
Yes.
But I felt that I was meant for something, and medicine was the thing I was meant for.
And to be honest, we're very proud of you because there is nothing more honorable than contributing to the saving of lives.
Yeah.
And this is what doctors do.
Exactly, yeah. We are.
And, tell us more about how was it, from growing up abroad to studying in the university. How was the atmosphere and the ecosystem that was with you for how many years? 5 years?
Yes,
5 to
6
7 years?
Yes. Yeah, it was interesting, I would say. It was different. coming from Japan to in Oman. And honestly, we have amazing things. We keep seeing at other countries, but first let's see what we have. Like our hospital systems are amazing. Our healthcare system is like extraordinary. Even the patient waiting times and so on, they're very good relative to other systems that I have seen.
Yes.
And so the transition was like it took time. Of course, any transition takes time, but it was interesting in its own way.
And I've noticed also that there is a sense of team building within your major with other students as well, and that you guys do research together, you form projects together, and we've met at an exhibition in
Yes.
Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry where you were displaying the results from your research as a project and
Yes.
as a startup. How was the experience in working with your colleagues and building projects? Is this something that you encourage people and graduates to do in the field of science?
Yes, because honestly, it's not a one-man job.
Yes.
Medicine and other fields too, but you cannot treat a patient by yourself. You need to discuss the case with colleagues. You need to get input from different people. Multiple minds working on the same issue is better than just one mind.
Yes.
And medicine is multidimensional. For example, if we have an oncology patient, it's not just about treating the cancer per se. You have to look at the mental health side of things. You have to look at the patient's nutrition and many other factors that tie in. And even with research, research is like this big world,
Yes.
and you have to explore it one step at a time. But you need multiple soldiers, as they say, or
Yes.
team members to explore. And like I said, this diversity of ideas, it brings strength and it brings results. And that's what we've been working on, even with the nanomedicine project. It cannot be attributed to one person because I have certain knowledge and skills, but others are more specialized in certain areas
Yes,
and so on.
and this is really interesting that there are different fields of advancement in technology, and for example, in health technology or health
Yes.
tech, and you chose a specific field.
Yes.
Tell us more about that field, and tell us how could an Omani group of researchers contribute with the help of researchers, for example, in Canada, in a field as advanced as this, and what can the community do to help you guys?
Yes. So, like I always say, try to make a difference. Try to bring change. We want to leave a legacy when we're leaving this world. And like we've seen the boom of the technology industry recently, all the advancements in healthcare and different fields. And so we want our beloved Oman to be a pioneer. And thus we are trying to be the pioneers
Amen to that.
in this field. Yes, exactly. And just like how you are a pioneer in your field, I'm trying to be in my field. And we're learning from each other's stories. So with our nanotechnology, basically, the normal medications that we take, everyone takes paracetamol or Panadol these days. And when you take it for a long period of time or take many tablets, it can have some side effects that we do not see immediately, but
Yes.
they're long-term side effects. Research has shown that long-term intake of those medications can cause cardiovascular diseases, impact the liver, and so on. And so what we saw this as a problem. And anyone that has to innovate, they have to see what they're trying to solve. And so we saw this as a problem, and we thought there is a technology called nanotechnology. It
Yes.
utilizes something called polymeric micelles, in which the medication itself, it targets diseased areas
Yes.
rather than all the body.
So it's more specific, directed, and accurate.
Exactly. And so let's say someone has arthritis or like joint inflammation in the shoulder,
Yes.
in the elbow or in the shoulder. When they take this medication in, rather than the medication spreading throughout the body,
Like traditional medicine.
like traditional medicine, it would just spread throughout the body and could cause unneeded
Side effects.
side effects, unnecessary side effects. But our technology, when you intake this medication,
Yes.
it will automatically go to the affected joints,
Yes.
like the shoulder or the elbow, and it will be precise to know where to go exactly.
Yes.
So yeah.
Is that with the help of specific technology such as artificial intelligence or tracing? What does it use?
Yeah, and this is why I was saying that the collaboration and the
Yes.
teamwork is needed, because there are specialists who are looking at tracing where the medication goes, and it uses some specific dyes and stains which trace where the medication goes in the body using some radiology work. Could be X-rays, could be other imaging modalities, and so there is, and of course there is an element of artificial intelligence in the sense that the computer program is analyzing where the medication is going, and the experts are kind of like leading the code
Yes.
into it.
So it's more of a sort of a maps
Exactly.
app, but for medicine and how medicine can make the best
Yeah.
or more sustainable impact.
Yes, couldn't have said it better myself. It's like a map of the body, and in the map you have some destinations which are the affected joints.
Yes.
And so this medication, that the nanomedicine that we're working on, it has the destinations in mind. And so it goes to the specific areas we pinned in the map, just like how a GPS works.
Amazing. And yeah, so, speaking of destinations and purpose and goal, how can we as a community work together to help your group and of researchers? And by the way, how many research papers have you wrote already?
Alhamdulillah, up to this point, I've wrote 26 papers,
MashaAllah.
and 2 are accepted in top journals. They're coming soon.
MashaAllah.
Some are actually in fields relevant, like one paper is upcoming about the effects of frankincense, Al-Luban Al-Omani,
Yes.
on human health. And so, yeah.
And you will be speaking on this in an upcoming conference, right?
Yes, I will, inshallah. It's planned that maybe the conference will be, it's somewhere in Europe, and I'll be speaking about it, yes.
And how important for investors, for companies, for the government, for policymakers to support research and development projects?
Yes, honestly, we are very thankful for the support we've received so far. We have funded projects by the Ministry of Health, by Sultan Qaboos University, but you can always do more.
Yes.
And what I encourage everyone, especially the community and the investors, is look at the work we're doing and see the difference that it's making on the Omani community. And you can be a part of this difference and a
Yes.
part of this change. Like I said, we want our beloved Oman to be a pioneer. We want people to say this was invented in Oman, and we want this technology, and we want to apply it in our
Yes.
countries. And so the way to innovate, the way to become pioneers, is to have the support
Yes.
of the community as a whole. And so even those who cannot maybe support us financially, spread our research, spread our findings, because everything we do, the first thing we have in mind is a goal, and the essence of a goal is improving a patient's quality of life.
Yes.
And it ties into what I said earlier. We want to leave with a legacy, and our legacy is the positive impact that we're doing on the patient's life.
Yes, and I commend you and
Thank you so much,
your
yeah.
colleagues, the researchers and the doctors and all the group that you have, especially that we are in a really meaningful quest for saving lives, improving quality of life, and improving our health. And you are standing on a firm ground, of course.
Yes.
Oman has already produced some of the world's most important work in the medical field.
Yes.
Centuries ago, I think, with doctors such as bin Rashid Al Umairi, who
Yes.
was one of the first people to write about some cancer cases 400 to 500 years ago, and his work has been recognized by the United Nations. So you're standing on a firm ground, right?
Yes, I am standing on a firm ground, and even doctors like recently that have gone abroad, they come back with awards. Like you'd see doctors coming with 5-6 awards, winning every
MashaAllah.
competition there is in Canada or the country they go and study. So we are making, like the doctors ahead of me and us, we are becoming pioneers. We are making a difference, and it's amazing to see, like our doctors and our seniors going to win awards, and that just gives us, the juniors, a push to become like them.
Yes, and almost like a roadmap.
Exactly. Yes.
Now that you have done this great work, there must have been some bumps on your road.
Yeah.
Is there a tough experience that you did not expect that you would like to share with us with an important lesson for the audience?
Yes. Honestly, being a medical doctor now and previously a medical student, you would rotate between different hospitals and so on. And medicine is not like what we see in the TV shows, where it's just, in most cases, a happy story. But sometimes it could be. A tough experience that I personally faced was like a few years ago. I was walking down, the hospital, and you'd hear a code, an alarm. And in the hospitals, we have different codes for different things. That code indicated that there is a patient in need of resuscitation, or the CPR that we see.
Yes.
And so I ran actually to the room, and I saw the doctors, performing CPR, which are the chest compressions and the breathing towards the patient. And I personally, like, you get the opportunity, you have to alternate between people who perform the compressions. And so I joined in. It was my first experience seeing a resuscitation.
Yes.
And I took part in it. And, we always, from the first day of medical school to even doctors, we always want to do the best for our patient. But life, not everything that you want in life goes to plan.
Yes.
And sometimes, even when you try your best, not everything goes to plan, like I said.
Yes.
And so, unfortunately, although we were resuscitating this patient and putting in the maximal effort, the patient sadly passed away. And, like, it goes through your mind. This was my first experience, by the way, of a passing away and so on, and a death experience. And you think to yourself, like, could I have done more? And you analyze the situation again and again. You're like, no, I did what I could, but sometimes it's in God's hand, not
Yes.
ours.
Yes.
We are just messengers and like
Yes.
tools, as we say. But at the end of the day, life and death is in God's hand.
Yes.
And it was tough. It taught me the value of life. Life is valuable, but you don't know the value of something until you lose it.
Yes.
And this was reflected at the end of every resuscitation. You have to go talk to the family. And I was beside the doctors that were doing the resuscitation, and we were breaking the bad news that unfortunately your grandfather could not make it. And those moments we do not speak about usually. And I feel those are the moments we should speak about, because, it's appreciate what you have.
Yes.
Go visit your grandparent or your father that you haven't seen, for example, for a week. Appreciate the value of life and live every moment of life to the max. Enjoy it to the max and take care of your health.
What other stories that you think were very meaningful in your career?
Yeah, so I just spoke about, one of the stories where it had a sad ending. But, like I said, it's in God's hands. But there are stories on the flip side where a sad beginning ends with a happy ending. So one of the stories, and this was more recent, I was at the Sultan Qaboos Comprehensive Cancer Care and Research Center. And there was this patient that presented to us with, like chest pain and typical symptoms that could suggest medication-induced like cardiac disease. Like, he's an oncology patient, and some of the oncology treatments can cause cardiac side effects. Anyways, in general, this patient, the outlook did not seem very positive. All the lab results and investigations seemed like maybe he was heading towards the final few weeks of his life. And you have to be honest and tell the patient
Yes.
stuff like this, because you don't know what a person wants to do with the final weeks of his life. And so we told the patient, we informed him and the family, and it was a sad, patient-doctor encounter. But somehow, to this day, the patient is doing well. And a patient who initially we thought had weeks to live, now after treatments, and somehow he is now, his vitals, his labs are all stable.
Yes.
And we are even telling him that you have years
Yes.
to live. So medicine is unexplored.
Yes.
There are things that we cannot explain.
Yes.
And this is where our role as innovators comes in,
yes.
and also researchers,
yes.
because there are still some unexplained stories.
Yes.
And maybe they could be
Wow,
miracles.
this puts such a great emphasis on research and development in science.
Yes, exactly, because the field of medicine, although we think we know everything, we
Yes.
truly do not.
Yes.
And just like how there are unexplained stories, we could say they could be miracles. Why not? Or there could be a reason that we can research into.
That is such a great lesson.
Yeah.
We only barely scratch the surface of
Exactly.
science.
We only barely scratch the surface, as you said. And this is where I encourage, as we were saying, we encourage all the Omanis, whether all the Omani people, researchers, innovators, investors, let's scratch the surface further together and be catalysts for positive change. We could be discovering the next big thing.
Dr. Abdullah Muhammad Abdul Majid Al Lawati, it's
Yes.
been truly a pleasure to have you with us in the podcast. And we hope to see you as a colleague also to maybe in a program like this to reach out to audience very soon, inshallah.
Yes, I am looking forward to it. And there are many stories to be told. Every person has their own story to tell. And I feel like platforms like this give us the chance. Everyone is interesting in their own way. And I look forward to, just like how you gave me the privilege of telling my story, I look forward to bringing other people's stories to life and to the audience.
It's truly a privilege to know about your great work, Dr.
Yes.
Abdullah, and kudos to you and to your colleagues in the group as well.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
And this was our very interesting episode of Business Class Podcast. Thank you, and thank you guys for following us.